everyone, and welcome to the Walking Dead review and discussion, mostly discussion, on What the Flick. This week we're talking about Season 6, Episode 6, Always Accountable. And always accountable for you is Tim, Francis, and myself. Yeah. There, I did it. To briefly go over what happened in this episode, we followed three main characters for the most part, including the most suicidal person, the second most suicidal person, and the formerly very suicidal person. Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham split ways after coming under fire. Daryl goes on an adventure on his own, meets up with three other people, where we discover that some people are maybe should not be trusted, and maybe it is stupid to be kind and good-hearted and helpful to people.
No way.
What?
No way.
Meanwhile, Sasha and Abraham wind up in some kind of, I don't know what that building was.
Office building.
An office building. It was like a shelter.
The home for a blossoming romance.
And go back.
Say.
That came out of nowhere.
Right,
nowhere.
We'll get to that.
Let me get to it. They kind of talk about how they're feeling, you know, living their lives, moving on. We've done this before. And eventually all ends up well when Daryl returns to them and they all go home, only to hear something on the radio, which we will get to. But let's go through the episode. Obviously, I can't encapsulate it all in whatever amount of time I took to say that just now.
It's because, and to be fair to you, that's because there wasn't much else to encompass into the overview of it. And that's, once again, to give the perspective that I don't care that I don't know anything about Daryl. I think we should say that at the start, and that should be it. Because everyone's like, I want to know what's going on. That's the reason why you don't like the episode. No, it's not. We love this show. That's why we review it. But we got to be critical. This is not a good episode. Neither was the previous. It's better than last week. But me sitting there,
I don't think so.
Me sitting there staring at the camera would be better than last week, and we will disagree on that. But like, I think that the reason why this episode had a problem for me is not because of the storyline. I liked the idea that Daryl, who we all kind of are in agreement with, that has thrived in this environment. Actually, his character has grown in the post-apocalypse. It was just so pre-predicted. I couldn't take it in my mind. Like, as soon as she lay down with those two people, that one character who she said was
they broke out of their candy-coated shell.
Come on, are you
to
joking
reveal
me?
pure
Like,
zombie inside.
This isn't. You can be better than that as a writer.
Yeah, there were a lot of stupid moves in this episode, not just from that character, but you know, Daryl. He knows how to kill a walker. He doesn't have to fumble through his
That's
bag
exactly the problem. That was too.
So that was my biggest problem too. There were so many people acting out of character in this episode. Daryl gets jumped and robbed twice.
By stupid people who he is stronger and better than.
He has difficulty killing one walker. Yes, he didn't have weapons on him, but I've seen him use all sorts of improvisational weapons in the past, and it was one walker, and he freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then we see Abraham using the only, character device that he's ever had over the course of the show, which is feeling mopey and super suicidal and not wanting to go on and like staring death in the face and going right up to the edge, and then he finds a reason to live. It
wasn't the most subtle metaphor, seeing the soldier hanging there.
It's like, how many times does Abraham have to do that before it sticks?
He's also not a character we've seen a lot out of. And this should be this big, revelation, like, I expected I would die, but I realized maybe I can have a real life, and maybe there's something there to be found still. That sounds great. That is a wonderful revelation for someone coming out of depression. But he's not a character we've really attached to in that way, and that we've also seen this reveal several times over from many other characters.
This time at the hands of an inspirational speech from Sasha, the least likely person to give an inspirational speech on the show. Like, that's totally out of character for her.
Yeah. And we've never really came full circle on why she's suddenly been talked off the edge. Like, it's never really fully explained, was it?
She had her character development
a
season ago.
It was a long time ago, but it happened.
I think that was the main flaw.
The declaration of love, I know it should have come as, something great. This man is, happy again and feeling better, but it read strange. I've never seen anything between these two that could indicate a hint of romance or feelings. I vaguely see friendship. That's it.
Yeah, and maybe we're reading into that. It felt a little bit like a romantic, proposition to me as well. Yeah. but maybe it is just friendship or kinship over going through the same experiences, having those
That
suicidal
read is
feelings.
extremely romantic to
Yeah,
me.
it
And
did.
what about
We're
what,
going to be fruitful.
Yeah.
A man can tell.
and what about him and the was
A
it not
man can tell.
was him and Rosita? Is that her name?
That
Rosita?
was,
still
Are they
a
not-
thing.
do they
she
not
was
a
his
thing?
girlfriend.
Yeah.
What
I don't know.
happened?
Still, she's still his girlfriend, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We didn't hear otherwise on the show.
So, I guess the worst that was pretty that did put me off a little bit. It was just the whole Daryl scenario that I felt because you're used to wanting to feel some sort of anger or I don't know, just some sort of resentment towards those that turn on the group that you look at in this show as a group that you want to follow. But I felt none of that when they turned on Daryl. Like none. Like I just watched it and I was just like,
The man and the woman?
yeah, man. I just felt like okay,
They're from
that's
some
understandable.
kind of, I found this one kernel of intrigue, which is they're from some kind of crazy group. It's not the wolves.
Yeah.
And they keep repeating this phrase, I earned it. This is mine, I earned it. So they have some kind of credo where
Claims,
dividing
like
things and you get to keep what you earn but nothing else. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. They're certainly not the wolves. I had that thought earlier,
Yeah.
but there's some third group that I guess is converging in.
It's like a combination of the wolves and that group that Daryl was part of in season.
Oh, Claimed.
Claim group. Yeah, like something like that. But that's what I'm saying is like, it was so obvious that we consistently are teased along this line that if you do show good, something will come back. And we talked about it last episode. It's like, okay, how many times is someone else going to do that? And with Daryl, you believe it a little bit more because this is something he would never have done before the apocalypse. He would never have acted this way. So you want to feel like this could come full circle. And if they just continue to be bitten in the ass by it, it doesn't have the same dramatic effect as it should. You know what I mean?
They
It
weren't
just was
wholly
obvious.
bad people, though.
No,
I
but
mean,
that's what it was obvious that they were going to do that. Like, why wouldn't they do that? Why would they trust him? Why would they
well,
think
'cause
that he could do
gave
something?
them that speech of, let's join the group speech. And, they were taking care of a girl who needed insulin and breaking the rules to give her, emotional closure.
Yeah.
I thought that was enough to show, oh, they're pretty good.
But then that's what they said to him. Like, you're one of them. You would say anything to allow me to let you go. And that's what. How many times has people in this world probably shared their sob story and then try to kill someone? That kid, the guy that nearly killed Carl in Alexandria, the wolf who was pleading for his life. Carl thought twice, and then he had to shoot him when he was under threat. And that's what people in this situation need to go by. Like, you don't know any of these people. They don't know them like we do. So that's the way that I was not surprised when they acted that way. That's the way I would act if I was in that situation. Can't trust anyone. We don't know who Daryl is. I just
Note
thought
to
it was
self,
very obvious.
Do not trust Francis.
Exactly. Note to self. We will take a motorcycle and we'll drive into the nice sunset.
Yeah, but that's stuff that, I guess they're going to bring it back to their group as retribution for, look, we found these things, forgive us.
Yes.
So overall, it looks like Rick's group has lost a crossbow and a motorcycle, but gained a lease on life and a fuel truck.
And an RPG.
Yes, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that was.
That's going to be definitely
Is no one went
later.
by that area and
This
found out
is-
as of myself?
This is a Chekhov's rocket launcher.
Okay,
For
so
later.
we're saying suspension of disbelief. This is the zombie apocalypse. You can just find rocket launchers. That's the thing. You go up to the highest point, and like I've learned from any video game ever, that's where the rocket launcher is. You can take it and have it for the rest of the game. Maybe unlimited ammo, maybe not.
Yes, exactly.
But I guess that could be a thing. It seemed a little cartoony to me. This whole episode felt a little cartoony. You find the zombies encased in vacuum sealed glass or plastic, whatever it is. You lure, one of the search party groups like towards you with a rustle of the branch, and he gets grabbed and bitten. Like it felt very
Classic
cartoony.
stealth move
Yeah.
in video games.
And like the problem is, I really initially liked Daryl's little Mad Max storyline where he encounters these people on the run and they're in trouble and like they get the jump on him. There's that initial conflict, but he ends up saving them.
Yeah.
And, that seemed okay. There was a lot of intrigue there, so that leads me to believe that there is going to be more to that group, which is hinted at the fact that we don't see that guy's face. His face is obscured, which you only do either if it doesn't matter and we'll never see them again, or as if you're saving that for a big reveal later. And it seems like it's going to be a big reveal, but that storyline had so many holes in it. Like they pull up in the truck and they seem like they're surrounded, and then all of a sudden they get away and they're hiding.
Yeah.
Like what was that?
Yeah, I feel like the whole episode was a little contradictory. Like, I understand the message that Sasha's trying to tell Abraham that you don't really need to kill everyone. Like, there's no loose ends there. If the walkers need to be let go, like, they're not going to do anything. But then Daryl comes running with one and suddenly forgets everything that's happened over the last 5 years and is suddenly shaking when it comes to a walker. Like, it doesn't make sense.
And if there's one lesson that Sasha would have learned in this whole thing, is that you don't leave
loose
walkers.
ends.
You don't leave loose ends. You clear the place. Because that's the guy who does break through the glass and get you, and then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Plus, they sound real annoying the whole episode, and you have to listen to that the whole
Yeah,
damn
this is the
time.
room I'm going to sleep in, the room with the walker banging on the glass. It's like, having trouble sleeping? Yeah, fucking of course I am.
And this is a problem with the amount of episodes that are designated to each season. It's like, what else can they need to?
So you think it's episode fatigue?
I think
There's
it
just
is.
too
I think
many.
there's far too many.
Another reason why we might be fatigued is they've been pulling this gambit. It's risky, which is making all these episodes that are seemingly happening in the same 24-hour block. But we're just watching them back to back to back to back, but it's all concurrent. And it's getting a little bit slow, draggy, boring. And I think we would all really like it if the plot would just move on at this point, because we do want to know what happens next. I wish the group would get back together instead of all this splintering. Is there any other group that splintered off? Do we have to do this next week? Is it over?
I did. But the funny
Carl
thing,
and Father Gabriel go off outside the wall for no reason, really. Just to have their own
to
little
teach him some
adventure.
of these awesome fighting moves that he had last week when he was fighting the other 12-year-old. Get off me! Get off me!
I guess there's Enid.
Yeah, that
She
could
better
be.
come back with a rocket launcher for waiting this long.
I
too.
think we're going to find out who Help is immediately.
Yeah, So who was
Okay,
who was
so
on the walkie-talkie?
Norman Reedus has gone out of his way to say, no, it's not Glenn, it's not Glenn.
Which is exactly what the producers would tell him to say, so
exactly.
take that with a grain of salt.
Sure. So some people have isolated the voice, saying help, compared it to Stephen Yun saying help otherwise.
People are crazy.
Yeah, well, we want to know. To me, it did not sound like the same person, but hey,
Nor
there's some
I.
distortion over radio signal, and
Yeah.
I don't know. We still don't know.
I would think it would be maybe more believable that Daryl and that group would run into Glenn if it was to be Glenn at that situation. We don't want to have this whole dramatic effect. I'm glad they didn't do the whole thing of sending Maggie out and suddenly she would run into him, very Daryl and his brother-esque, either the walker or alive. I'm glad that storyline was dead in the water. But if it was to be a group to run in to the potentially dead or alive Glenn, it would be this group, right? That's the only thing that could kind of tie up that loose end. They'd have, at least then, that would be on their travels back to Alexandria, where we could finally get back to a half-decent storyline of them maybe facing the antagonist or coming to the area to try and win it.
Yeah, I think that's part of the fatigue. We just
hoping.
really need to see what's going on next, and like we're at the point where, you know what, I get it. This
Yeah.
could have been wrapped up more quickly. Maybe put 2 groups or 3 groups in one episode instead of giving them all their own singular episode. What's happening next week? I did not watch what's going on in the preview.
The funny thing is they were very smart, AMC, and they made it rather at the end, because I watch it live like an idiot. I have to watch all the commercials. But at the end, they usually do, next week on The Walking Dead. But no, you have to watch the first part of the new show, Into the Badlands, and then see the next week at the break. Very smart, AMC. Good job. I never stayed either. I never watched it.
It's Rick and Carol, so we're back at Alexandria.
Okay, good. So maybe it's moving forward now?
Maybe. Who knows?
I mean, 6 is a nice round number to stop doing that at, right? Right? I sure hope so.
Yeah, let's hope.
All
We
right,
can only hope.
audience, hope along with us. No apology this week like last week, because that was a little better. And we'll see you then. Goodbye.